Hey folks, welcome to this week's edition of Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain, and we want to thank everybody for the support we've been receiving from last week's episode. It was a really strong episode, and there was a lot of content in it. And if you've missed any of the past episodes, you can go to our YouTube channel and just put in Wild Kentuckiana Live, and you can see all the episodes that we have aired before. And it's a really good way to catch up if you missed one or two of the episodes. Now, we've been talking a lot of hunting. Right now it kind of goes into our depression state because deer season ends tomorrow, Chris. And so now you've got basically coyote hunting, shed hunting, and then just getting geared up for turkey season. So let's not forget about, you can also apply for your elk tag through the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. They're on sale now. They went on sale January the 1st, and they're going to be continuing to sell them until they draw. And then also QDMA has a banquet coming up that will also be able to buy tickets through them for them also. So with me tonight, I have Chris Soder. Chris, I want to thank you for coming on with me tonight.
Thank you, Tom.
What we're going to talk about with Chris here tonight, folks, is Chris has a condition called multiple sclerosis. And for y'all who don't know it, most people refer to it as MS. Mm-hmm. It really changes your way of life when you're an avid hunter or an average outdoorsman. Now, Chris, you were diagnosed 15 years ago.
Yes.
Now, can you explain to everybody what the difference 15 years ago was to your hunting habits and your hunting rituals, how they've changed in the last 15 years as your multiple sclerosis either stayed the same or intensified over the years?
Well, 15 years ago, I'd run out by myself and go hunting anytime, right. You know, wouldn't worry about anything. Mm-hmm. And then nowadays, I do try to worry about taking someone with me, just in case. You know, I like hunting with a buddy anyways. It makes it a little more enjoyable. And then tree stands, mm-hmm. You know, I'm trying to do a lot more blind hunting now than the tree stands.
Let's talk a little bit about what multiple sclerosis is. What actually is this disease? It's an
autoimmune disease.
Okay.
And it's actually your autoimmune system attacks your nerve endings.
So your body's attacking itself?
Yes.
Okay. And what does it actually do? Do you go numb? Do you lose feeling everywhere?
It can range from you lose feeling in your hand till you go blind in the eye. Some people have what they call foot drop. The foot, when they go to take a step, doesn't come back up. And it's just so wide a range of different symptoms. My main symptoms are extreme fatigue, and I have a lot of problems with my left hand and my left leg.
So I can see where that would really be an issue if you're trying to use a climber or trying to climb up on climbing sticks into a lock-on stand.
Yeah.
So when you first got diagnosed 15 years ago, of course your family was your first thought. Mm-hmm. But did you ever think about how it was going to affect your hunting? You know, if you're an avid outdoorman, whether you hunt, fish, hike, camp, whatever you do, if that's your passion, of course, my thought process would be, you know, how's it going to affect my family? And then it would go straight into, am I going to be able to hunt?
Yeah.
Because that's important to me.
It definitely, in the very beginning, it didn't affect me a whole lot. Once the initial shock wave got over and I had some of my feeling back in my legs and everything. And then like the next year or two is somewhat normal hunting seasons. You know, just focused on still doing the same things, just taking a little more time.
Was you on any type of medication during this process?
At the very beginning, I was on injections every other day.
Now, is that like a B12 injection for?
No, it's they call it a interferon. It's something that your body produces naturally, but for some reason, in patients with MFs,
it stops producing it. So they're trying to replenish that for you.
Yeah.
Now, so after you realize that, hey, I can't really climb too much anymore, just because you're steadiness and you're afraid of falling, you go to basically ladder stands and ground blinds? Is that your process?
Ladder stands and ground blinds, and anytime in a ladder stand, I'm using lifelines.
Yeah.
I started using those about 3 or 4 years ago.
Which is important, folks. Everybody that's climbing into a stand period should use a lifeline. I can remember 10, 15 years ago, I'd get in my deer stand. I wouldn't use a harness. I wouldn't use nothing. I'd take my climber. I'd take it 40 feet in the air.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Never worried about it.
Never worried.
You start seeing people falling out stands, getting paralyzed, getting killed. So
I had a good friend we hunted with in Indiana this year.
Yep.
At one of our farms up there. Was hunting by himself.
Yep.
Fell out on the ladder stand. The strap broke, and he was in pretty bad shape, but he's doing a lot better now.
Well, that's good. You know, it makes you really think that those lifelines are so important. And no matter what kind of stand you're in, you can put those lifelines on.
Oh, absolutely. And that way you're always attached.
Yep. You're never going to hit the ground.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the key. You know, you may hang there in midair
Exactly,
for a little while,
you know.
but you're going to be good. That is one of the advantages of having the TV show. I always have a cameraman with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always, you know, we're always paired up.
Yep.
So if something does happen, you do have that person, which is, it eases your mind. But in turn, I've not been in a stand in 6 years without a camera. So I forgot what it's like just to go hunt for fun anymore. Not that I don't have fun, but it's just a totally different type of hunting
absolutely.
now.
Absolutely.
Now, you've gone more to ground blinds. You hunt some of my property.
Yep.
For y'all don't know, me and Chris have been friends for a long time. Chris was actually our first editor we ever had with Lights Out Outdoors, and he was the reason we were able to get our flagship year off the ground. It was because of Chris, and we owe a lot of gratitude to you for the show for helping us out.
Fun. It was a blast.
So you've hunted my property. You got to kill a doe on my property this year, and it was out of a ground blind.
Yes.
Tell me the difference. I know everybody likes to be in the air hunting. What kind of adjustments have you had to make strictly ground hunting?
Ground hunting, you just don't have the visibility, and that is the key. And I can get away with a lot more movement in a blind
Because you go numb and sometimes
you just got to move and stretch a little bit, and,
right?
But yeah, I do miss not having the height and seeing. That's why I try to do ladder stands. But this year, I only got to get out like twice, and there was that one time that I called you, so it worked out perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if you can go out and hunt 2 times a year and kill a deer, 50%.
50%.
I'll take that every day
50%.
because there's lots of times I go out there and it's 8 or 9, 10 cents and I don't shoot a deer. After we take our break, Chris, we have a function coming up that is going to raise some money, and we're going to go into that, and we're going to talk about what people can do to join in this effort. We're going to talk more about Chris here after we come back from the break. You're going to have to end up going to the Mayo Clinic, so we're going to talk some about that and more about MS and how it affects the hunting. So, folks, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain. I have a good friend of mine, Chris Soder, sitting here with me, and we're talking about his difficulties after he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, how his hunting habits have changed. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there watching that has a disability they have to deal with while they're hunting, whether it be diabetes or cancer or lung disease or multiple sclerosis. There's a number of things that will affect the way and how you hunt. So hopefully, this information you're giving to people out there, Chris, that people will be able to realize that they can still do what they love to do. And just, you have to change the way you hunt or change the way you fish, but you can always still go out there and do what you love to do. Before we get back with Chris, though, I really want to bring up a really good sponsor we have for the show is Knob Creek Gun Range. Guys, if you've never been out to Knob Creek, Kenny Summers and the gang out there has everything you possibly need for anything with hunting, tactical, ammo, guns. It's the biggest toy store for guns around, and they're great guys out there. They know what they're doing. They can set you up. They can bore sight your weapon for you. They have a wonderful range out there to shoot up to, I believe it's 1,000 yards they have out. So, and they also have the machine gun shoot twice a year. So make sure if you got a new weapon for Christmas and you're wanting to go try it out, just head on up to Knob Creek and tell them Wild Kentuckiana Live sent you. Now, Chris, 15 years you've been hunting with your multiple sclerosis. You've done well. I've hunted with you for a lot of years. You've killed deer. You've killed turkey. So it's not held you back. It's just changed the way you've approach hunting. You said before we went to the break that now you try to hunt with somebody, which is a great thing to do because of safety reasons for you. Use a lifeline now, we all should be using.
Yep.
But now that you have a new condition, but they don't know if it's tied into your multiple sclerosis, can you explain that a little bit to us?
Routine, no, I guess it wasn't a routine scan, but a scan I had on my chest. They saw a spot on my liver,
Okay.
and then that turned into all these tests and seeing specialists, and now that's turned into non-alcoholic cirrhosis.
So non-alcoholic cirrhosis, usually when you hear cirrhosis of the liver, it deals with somebody that has had years and years of drinking. Not your case, you don't drink.
No.
So,
Here and there. Well, not anymore.
Right, yeah.
But
You were a social drinker, but
Yes.
very, very,
Exactly.
very social. But now it's called non-alcoholic cirrhosis. And is it the same type of cirrhosis that would be associated with alcoholic cirrhosis?
It is. I mean, the liver function is still the same, I guess, symptoms you would have.
Okay.
But it's just they don't know what has caused it.
And this could or could not be contributed to the multiple sclerosis or the medication?
Well, the neurologist for the MS side says absolutely probably not the medicine.
Okay.
And now the liver doctors are saying they think it is the medicine.
Now, you're getting two different opinions from two different doctors,
Exactly.
so it's hard to tell. So what is the next step with this?
Well, being we went through and had the biopsy done and everything here locally, and he said he really couldn't come up with any answer to prove that it was medicine or not the medicine. After talking to my wife, we've decided, and to my other doctors, we're going to go ahead and go to the Mayo Clinic.
Now, everybody knows if you've ever heard the word Mayo Clinic, you know that's the best of the best. If you've got an issue that local people can't figure out, they're usually the ones that can always figure out what's going on.
That's where the doctor houses are. That's what I said.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, I guess it's because their technology is so much more advanced at the Mayo Clinic than it is at our local hospitals. And our local doctors do a wonderful job
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
with what they had to work with. But sometimes they run across things that are above their head.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just part of life.
And that's what was strange for me for the doctor to say, well, we really just don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Mayo Clinic, they don't accept that. You know,
Right.
They're there to find out.
Yeah, they do more exploratory and that type of thing. Now, how has this new issue you're having affected hunting?
The worst problem I've had with this new issue, is the add to the fatigue.
Right.
It's made it twice as much as my normal fatigue. And then if anybody's ever had any problem with the liver, they know when your liver enzymes raise, you tend to itch.
Okay.
And let me tell you how hard it is to stay still in a stand or a blind and not itch.
Right. Not try to scratch
Yes,
your arms or
yeah.
your.
And there's medicines, and I've tried their medicines and stuff like that, but you know, so far nothing's really worked real good as far as on the itching part. It's drive you crazy.
And this has been going on 7 months now, right?
Yeah, about 7 months.
So it tells me and tells everybody out there watching this that, okay, you've overcome your MS, you're still going to hunt.
Absolutely.
You've got this new issue here with your liver, and you're still going to hunt.
Yep.
Because I'm assuming it's like me. If I'm stressed out or I'm worried about something, or there's nothing better than getting in the woods.
Absolutely. I mean,
It just clears your mind. You're in God's world at sunset, at sunrise. It's nothing better. And you feel at peace out there. So
absolutely. Sunrises and sunset. That's what he made them for us.
that's right. So I guess basically the moral of the story is no matter what's thrown at you, you're going to keep hunting.
Yes. With the good God willing.
That's right. And tell us a little bit about that doe you killed this year at our place.
Well, we weren't seeing anything out in E-Town earlier that day, so we went and decided, I called you, and we had nobody was over there hunting, so we decided to pop in the ground blind, and we hadn't been sitting there. If we'd have been filming, we wouldn't have had the camera button on yet.
Really? Was that quick?
It was that quick. Walked straight in front of us. I had a friend of mine, a good friend of mine with me, and he just was in awe of how everything happened so quickly.
Now, how close was it to you?
About 10 yards, 15 yards. Happened to be facing kind of forward, so I happened to not see, which we thought was a doe. It wound up
You
being-
called me and you said, man, I just killed a doe. And I was like, well, that's awesome, man. You know, you took a doe out. Because I knew you hadn't had a chance with all your doctor's appointments and everything to get out in the woods much. And you have 2 young daughters and a wife. That, you know, so it's been tough for you this year to get out there and hunt. But when you said you killed a doe, I was like, that's great.
Yep.
And then you called me back.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that was probably the smallest buck I've ever killed. And,
So it just barely busted.
Yeah,
It was a button buck.
I texted you the
Just busted
pictures,
through.
just busted through, and I wasn't for certain in the beginning because, you know, hunting in Indiana all those years, I think it can be 3 inches in Indiana.
Right.
In Kentucky, anything visible.
Yeah, it busted through.
Yep.
So you took it to a good friend of ours, Scott Herndon.
Yes, I did, and you know, paid the processing fee and everything because I didn't feel like, you know, doing it myself and everything. And
Which goes back to your fatigue. You know,
exactly.
You're hunting, you were wore out, you were just trying to get dropped off. For those you don't know, Scott Herndon's our sergeant for law enforcement, fish and wildlife here in Kentucky in our area, Bullitt, Jefferson, Nelson counties. He's a really great guy. He's got a great taxidermy place, got a great processing place on top of being the sergeant for the game wardens.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately on this deal, I think it cost me a little more money because I think when I picked it up, I had probably 20 pounds of beef, or not beef, burger.
Right.
And a couple back straps. So that made it a little pricey.
I bet it did.
It was probably cheaper just to
go to the store and buy it. Right.
Yeah. But well, it's good eating.
It is good eating. Folks, when we come back from this break right here, we're going to talk about this benefit that we're having for Chris. It's actually going to be held at my restaurant, Lights Out Bar and Grill in Shepherdsville. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be the place to be for this date. And we're going to raise a bunch of money, and we're going to send Chris up to Mayo to get figured out what he's got going on, because we want him to continue to be out in the woods and be out hunting with us. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain. We're here with Chris Soder, and we're talking about how to overcome your obstacles if you're an avid outdoors man or woman. Chris, you've gone a long way, and you continue to still hunt to this day, and I know it makes it tough. Like my father, you know my dad, mm-hmm. and you and my dad have hunted together a lot.
Yeah, we have.
And you know, Dad has diabetes, and he's had heart surgery, so he's had to change the way he's hunted in the last 15, 18 years compared to what he did when he was younger. And I know sometimes he gets down because he can't walk like he used to or climb like he used to or any of those, but my thought process on this is you're still hunting.
Still getting out there.
You're still getting out there, you know, and as long as I'm able to, I will always make sure my dad has a place to hunt and a way to get there, you know, and it's not made it any harder for me because I still enjoy going out and hunting with him, so I'll do whatever I have to do to get him to that blind. You know, he can't climb no more, can't walk like he used to. So I'll do whatever I have to.
Oh, absolutely. You
know, as long as I can continue to hunt my father. A lot of people out there don't have that opportunity anymore. Mm-hmm. And either their fathers didn't hunt or their fathers have passed away. And I'm going to take full advantage of hunting with my dad while I get the opportunity to. And, you know, as long as we've been friends, you'll know that, you know, anytime you want to go to the woods, I'll get you there the same way. Yeah. I'll put you and Dad together, and we'll haul both of y'all out there.
And we did that.
And we have done it. You're exactly right. We have done that before. There's a really cool fundraiser coming up for you. Mm-hmm. We're going to send you to the Mayo Clinic with a bang, and we're going to help with all the crazy costs that are associated with going to the Mayo Clinic. You know, airfare, hotel accommodations, extra hospital bill. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming at you that you're probably not prepared for.
Oh, yeah.
So
sure.
The hunting group is a very tight-knit community, and we care about our own, and we love our own. So we want to make sure we can do all we can to help each other out. And this is real special to me because it's at my place, at my restaurant, mm-hmm. Lights Out Bar and Grill. And it's called Support for Soder, Save the Date. Mm-hmm. And it'll be really big. We got some really, really cool auction items. And it's going to be January 30th, 7 to 11 p.m. We're going to have some live entertainment there. We're actually going to do a little karaoke so you can come out and make a fool of yourself. Or if you got a good voice, you can get a lot of new fans, you know, either way it goes. I know Maker's Mark has donated a 7-foot Maker's Mark plastic replica bottle of theirs. Mm-hmm. A good friend of ours, Brian Sneed, it's on Lights Out, has donated, he works for Budweiser, and he's donated a NFL football seat. The bottom pulls out, it's got coolers in it. So these are going to be all auction items. We have a ton of auction-related stuff, a lot of U of L, UK stuff. We're going to donate some of the proceeds from the whole night to this fundraiser. So we encourage anybody to come out. It's open to the public.
And we greatly appreciated it. I've had to swallow a lot of pride, and without the help of you and my wife and our friend Samantha and a couple other close friends, it's hard for me to sit back and swallow the pride, but
Sure.
I know it has to.
You know, Rachel, your wife had texted me and said, hey, we want to do this fundraiser. Can we do it at your place? And my response to her was, if you don't do it here, we're not friends no more. You know, your family means a lot to us, and so we want to help out all we possibly can. But yeah, do you know any of the other auction items that she has?
Some U of L, UK merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I think my mother just secured there's a new spa in Fern Creek called Blue Halo.
Okay.
And she's got something from them.
I've seen some Churchill Downs box seats.
Churchill Downs box seats.
I've seen U of L basketball seats.
U of L basketball tickets, yeah, the treadways.
Yep, it's going to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming in, a whole lot of stuff coming in as far as the auction wise.
And they can probably go to the. Are they able to see the Facebook page and see all the auction items on there?
I think so. They should be able to hopefully search, save the date or support for Soder, save the date.
Right.
And they should be able to start seeing some of the auction items on there.
And as you get on the Facebook page, you can scroll down and you can see some of the auction items that have actually been donated. And there's been a lot. I can't believe the local businesses in Louisville that have actually stepped up and donated to this. This is a wonderful cause. Good friend of ours, and Gats on our show, Chris Rebin, played U of L football, played Baltimore Ravens. He's going to sign a bunch of U of L footballs and stuff like that for us that we're going to have there for it. And I actually just got a limited edition from Brian Sneed at Budweiser, a pint with 2 Budweiser glasses in a really old wooden cast that they only made 1,000 of.
Oh, wow.
So that was just given to me this week here. So it's going to be a really, really good function. Like I said, great food.
Yeah, awesome food.
It is some good food.
It is good food.
And we're going to have some karaoke and just different stuff going on. And we'll be able to hopefully send you off with a bunch of money. And it's open to the public. Anybody can come out and join us. It's 1579 Highway 44 East in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. And you can call the restaurant if you need more details at 502-543-3200. And that's on the 30th of January from 7 to 11. We're working on some overflow because we anticipate this really big event.
Yeah,
so we're working on some other options so everybody is able to get in and have a good time. Still be in the
same location.
Yeah, same location, but we're working on some outdoor tents with some heating in it to accommodate the extra people because y'all have a large family.
Yeah, a large family, and the power of social media.
It's gone a long way. Y'all invited 800 people. My restaurant does not hold 800 people.
I've tried to tell my wife that.
Yeah, you got a really good wife. You got a good supportive wife, and she's doing all she can to help you. So
she does. She's great.
She is. I'll give you that. Well, folks, make sure you come out and check it out. And remember, no matter what disability you have, you can still get to the woods. It may be a little different than it was when you were younger. But Chris and my father both are living examples that if your passion is the outdoors, there's no reason not to get out there. There's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
You just might have to arrange different what you do. When we come back from our next commercial break, we're going to switch gears all the way up. We've talked hunting from day one of this show, and this is an outdoor show. So actually, we're going to talk a little bass fishing in the winter. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain. And like I said before the break, we have talked hunting from day one of this show. And we want to really round out the whole show and talk a little about fishing, hunting, everything involved with the outdoors. With me now, I have Todd Buckingham. Todd, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Tom, for having me on.
I tell you what, people don't really think of this time of year as fishing.
Yeah.
This is everybody's still in kind of a hunting mode right now. And
right.
It's winding down. We're in depression now because we can't kill nothing anymore. So we're focusing on turkey season coming up.
Right.
And you're an avid hunter on top of being an avid fisherman.
Yes.
And we got a lot in common. We both shoot a lot. You shoot a lot of competition archery.
Yeah.
So we really kind of click because we both like the outdoors. Now you fish way more than I ever fished in my life. But this time of year, it can be productive bass season, can't it?
It actually can. Yeah. And a lot of people miss out on this time of year or this bite, and it's really a great time to be out on the water and actually either get a big bite or see a lot of the structure that you normally wouldn't see.
Now these pictures are showing here. It looks like it's wintertime right now. And
it is.
You know, what lake was that on?
That was actually Rough River.
Now that's some nice bass. That one in your hand, that large one, was it 3.5, 4 pounds?
Yeah, it's about 4 pounds.
And that's a really nice. You wouldn't think this time of year you're catching that quality of a fish.
Right.
You know, in the dead middle of winter.
Yeah. And in that picture, you can see our lakes around here. They do a drawdown, a winter drawdown, and those lakes are dropped 20 to 24 foot.
So you're seeing structure you never even knew was there.
Absolutely. And what that does, it actually condenses the fish. You know, they're in the tighter areas.
Right.
Usually in the channel swings and a little bit deeper pockets.
Okay.
But if you can focus on hitting key areas and just staying there, a lot of times you'll get a big bite or have multiple, you know, fish.
Now, if you get in one area and you get on those fish like that big bite, is it possible to catch more than one nice fish out of that pocket?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And what they'll do is they'll actually, like I said, they'll group up right there. Yeah, they'll school up big time right there.
Now, this time of year, with the winter drawing down, or the winter lakes going down the winter pool, I know Kentucky Lake has a huge drop. Barkley has a huge drop.
Right.
Ruff and Nolan have a huge drop. Taylorsville doesn't drop hardly at all.
No, not much. Yeah.
What water temps are you trying to focus on this time of year? For the people at home that normally fish the spawn, the spring, the summer, and the fall, and they usually leave out this time right here, and everybody kind of gets stuck in their house and they're tired of being in their house. It's a great time to get out. What should they be looking for if they typically don't fish this time of year?
Right now, it's going to be tough because the water is so cold, because it's getting cold at night. But if you can have like those warm spells we have, you'll have a week of, you know, some warmer temperatures above freezing. If you can get a water temp anywhere from 45 to even down to 40 degrees, you're still going to catch fish.
Now, when you find that water temp, or if you can find that water temp, what's your process? Okay, so I found water temp at 43 degrees. What am I focusing on next?
I'll start on a chunky, rocky bank.
Okay.
Maybe a really good slope to it with a little bit deeper water, and I'll either start cranking, or I'll throw like a football head jig, or even a tube, you know, and I'll just kind of fill it out. I like to start out with a crankbait if they're hitting that, and it just depends on the fish's mode as far as what they're wanting that day. You know, if they're feeding, or if they're not. You know, it could be slow.
Now, of course, everybody wants to fish when it's spawn time, when they're on the nest. And you can throw popcorn at them and they're going to hit it.
Yeah.
You know, lots of times you get an aggravation bite because you're just aggravating them. They're hitting it.
Yeah.
Now, what time of year is your favorite time of fishing?
I'm gonna go with spring to early summer. If I'm down at Kentucky Lake, I love being there that May, that June, even early July, you know, when those fish are coming off the beds and going out to the ledges, you know.
Now, when they're coming off their beds, they're more aggressive, and they're feeding a little heavier because they've been on the beds, right?
Right, yeah, they're feeding up, you know, because they're stressed. They've been up there, you know, for the spawn. They've done their thing. Now they're going out to the deeper water, and they're just putting some weight on, you know. Now,
this time of year here, what's your go-to lure?
I have several. Like I said, I'll start out maybe with like a tube.
And when we come back, after we take our break here in a few minutes, when we come back, we're going to show some of the equipment you use.
Yeah.
And you brought some really nice lures that you would use this time of year.
Right.
But let's just talk a little bit about what you would use this time of year right now.
Okay. Like a crankbait, which is Strike King makes a Series 5. That's a great little crankbait. Locally, there's a friend of mine that makes a custom bait. That's Steve Gentry. He calls it the Stevie G. It's a great little crankbait for this time of year.
Are those all handcrafted?
Yes, they are. He makes them all by hand, paints them all, and
that's amazing.
Pretty cool. Yeah, they were kind of like a little secret, but they've kind of gotten out the last few years.
You know, and we like on this show to support all the local guys that do that type of thing. You know, because they're just like those. They love to be outside. They love to be
Right.
doing something in, hunting or fishing involvement. And the guy that has a talent that
Yeah.
can make something like that is a true talent.
Yeah, he definitely does.
We had Orvis Fly Fishing Company on out of Louisville here a couple weeks ago, and this guy was telling me about how he ties his own flies. And
Yeah.
I don't think I have that patience. I think I just, or making them crankbaits or painting them. I just soon go by and be done with them.
All right. I enjoy it. I mean, I've made some of my own baits and stuff. I guess that's what kind of separates you. I mean, like just
Now,
playing
this picture
around.
right here, what is that right there?
That's actually one of Steve's crankbaits that he makes right there.
That's the one that he actually hand painted and made that.
Yes. Yep.
Now that is super impressive.
Made it from a chunk of wood, started out with that, but it's pretty cool.
Now, does he make these for a living, or does he just do it for friends and family?
It's a side job. He
Just a
does it
little
for
hobby?
everybody. Yeah. I think he actually had them set up on the internet for a while, but he actually has a full-time job.
Right.
And he was so busy, it was hard for him to keep up with that. But
I'd say, because it's a good-looking lure.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it's pretty neat.
That's a lure that you go see at Cabela's or Bass Pro, and
Yeah.
you see it sitting on the shelf. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not that nice, and
Right.
he's doing it all by hand, so
Right.
it's really, really impressive. Now, right now, what are these fish feeding on right now? I mean, natural vegetation. Is there any left?
No, I mean, right now what they're focused on mainly is shad
Okay.
and crawfish. Those are your two main forages. That
For
the
this
fish-
time of year?
Yeah, for this time
Are
of
they
year.
trying to just fatten themselves up for the hard winter?
Yeah, and it's probably the peak bite is probably almost over from that late fall to winter transition. Now we're getting into the main winter where it's really getting cold, so it'll be pretty slow. They'll be pretty lethargic, and then when it starts back warming up, when that warming trend starts back, and we get more daylight time,
Right.
they'll start feeding again, and they'll be on the same deal. They'll be on the crawfish, the shad bite, and as those lakes stay drawn down, they'll really start being more aggressive, getting ready to go to spawn.
And it's crazy how you can compare a white-tailed deer to a fish, because whitetails are feeding hard right now
Right.
for wintertime, and the fish are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just weird how you can put those together, and how I guess the whole ecosystem works, that all these animals know that a hard winter's coming on, so
Yeah.
they're all trying to fatten up as much as they
Yeah.
possibly can.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to talk about Todd's favorite lakes to fish and some tournaments he fishes, some different leagues he fishes, and a lot of his equipment that he's using. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain, and we're here with Todd talking a little winter bass fishing. And like you had spoke earlier, people don't really fish this time of year. They miss a good bite out there.
Right.
And miss the opportunity to find a lot of structure and rock banks and different even channels they don't even realize are there.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to get out there and take advantage of this. You're not doing nothing anyway but sitting at home.
Yeah, get out and explore a little bit.
That's right.
And we were talking earlier, and you'd mentioned about the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Yep.
They'll actually go out and put a lot of artificial structure out on these lakes because they're drawn down now, and it's a great time to go out and see that stuff.
Oh, it is. I was actually at the Department of Fish and Wildlife headquarters like this past week, having a meeting with them, and they had a big tree drop-off where all the Christmas trees were being dropped off, and they were putting them together, and they were getting them rigged up to take out to all the lakes in Kentucky to drop it in for just different structure for crappie, for bass, for everything.
Yeah.
And coming up here in a few weeks, we're going to be doing a great big segment on this new trout lake. They built a trout stream
Wow.
in Kentucky from start to finish. There was never no water there. It was a field, and they built a trout stream. The
That's
whole
pretty
ecosystem,
impressive.
the whole 9 yards. So I'll be doing some filming down there and bring that to you for Fish and Wildlife. They've really done a good job trying to get our trout population back up here in Kentucky. Other than bass fishing, do you do any type of other fishing besides bass?
Yeah, I mean, I like to do like the bluegill and the red ear down
Yeah.
at Kentucky and Barkley. That's a great time.
You ever striper fish?
I have.
That's
Yeah,
a ball,
yeah.
boy. You get on stripers at Cumberland?
Yes,
And
that's
they-
where I've done it at. I had actually a friend that I shot archery with, lived in London.
Okay.
And we got to talking one day. He's like, "Hey, come down to Cumberland. Let's go win the." And it was key the shad had to be spawning.
Right.
And we went at night.
You go all the jumps.
Yes.
You see all the jumps.
Unbelievable,
You
yeah.
throw those
Great time.
big old baits, those cigar baits.
Yep. The sliver, I think, was one of
Yep.
them. Rapala makes a sliver. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Did you get on any of them?
Oh, yeah. I think the biggest one I had was about 18 pounds, maybe.
And people don't realize, but an 18-pound striper, the kind of fight that is.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're really big advocates of fishing Kentucky Lake for crappie late March, early April.
Right.
And I fish Blood River a lot. And some of my best memories down there is not really catching crappie. It's using these 2-ounce jig tails with 4-pound test line when they're up on the bank spawning and just jigging it back and getting on a 4 or 5-pound smallmouth on a 4-pound test line.
Wow.
And to me, that is a ball. Now, do you catch a lot of smallmouth?
A little bit. You know, I don't, I guess, target smallmouth.
Right.
I mainly focus on largemouth. You know,
I'll tell you what, I think pound for pound, that smallmouth is the toughest.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Toughest fighting fish out there.
Growing up, we actually went to Del Hollow Lake all the time.
Yeah.
So I guess I've been around, you know, the smallmouth fishing.
That's a large place to fish for smallmouth down there. That's what everybody goes down there for. It's pretty cool. Well, we got some really cool baits I want you to help me with here. These are fairly new on the scene. I remember when these first come out.
The A-rig.
The A-rig. They were very controversial.
Yes.
A lot of the...
Still is.
Still is?
Yeah.
A lot of the bass leagues would not allow people to use these.
Right.
I know different DNRs across the country were debating on making these illegal. To my knowledge, no state has outlawed it yet, but I think a lot of states are actually looking at it.
There are a few different regulations as far as when you go to state. Like if you fish Kentucky and Barkley, you're allowed to have 5 hooks, which this rig here does.
Okay.
And just for people to know, this is a Picasso Extreme bait ball.
Okay.
So, but it has 5 hooks on it. Now Tennessee only allows 3.
Okay.
You can have 5 lures, or you can have as many lures on your bait or on your rig, but you can't have more than 5 hooks on it.
In Kentucky, 3 in Tennessee.
Yes, 3 in Tennessee, 5 in
Now,
Kentucky.
what do you do, like, okay, say for instance, you're fishing Tennessee. Can you adjust these where you only have 3 hooks on these?
Sure.
And still run them?
I'll run they actually, they make a dummy head
that
is just for the bait, and it'll screw lock on.
Okay.
Or some guys, like I started in, I would just cut the hook off too. You know,
okay, so as long as you cut the hook off, you're good to go.
Fine. Yeah.
And what's the most you've ever caught on this A-rig at one time? How many fish?
Just 2. But it is common, you know, to catch a double. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of weight to it.
It does.
How awkward is it to throw it?
It's not bad. One of my sponsors, iRod, makes a great rod. You want to throw a really heavy rod, which is, their rod is a 711 rod. It's a Bama rig special, which is, or A rig or whatever you want to call it. But this weight, I like to throw it underhanded or sidearm.
Okay.
It's more cumbersome to throw it overhead. It's harder on you. It's harder on your shoulders, especially if you're going to throw this all day.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about different techniques, this is a great technique during the winter.
So you would throw this right now?
I would. Me personally, I think it's better when the water temp is about 45 all the way up to 60.
Okay.
When it gets really cold, I don't think this performs as well.
So 45 to 60, you would have no problem throwing this rig?
Right, yep.
And I'm sure this is good at any lake you go to, whether it be a local lake like Taylorsville, or if you head down to Kentucky or LBL or any of those like that.
Right.
Now, I guess this rig also translates if you go down to Okeechobee or Gunnersville or anything else. I'm sure those guys are throwing them down there also.
I'm sure they can, yeah. Some of those lakes that have the grass, you're not going to be able to fish it in.
Right.
And it probably performs better in, I think, clear water.
Okay.
Or just something that has a little bit of color.
Okay.
Like Taylorsville or some of the lakes that are drawn down right now that are real muddy.
Okay.
It's not going to perform as well.
Now, this crank right here, is this something you would throw this time of year?
Absolutely. This is the Strike King Series 5. It has a pretty wide wobble. I don't know if you can hear the rattles, but
now, what depth will this run?
That runs anywhere from 8 to 12 foot.
Okay.
You want to throw this on about 10-pound test line. It's usually what I do.
And you throw this typically off of rock structures?
Yes.
Or?
You want to get it down and grind it.
Okay.
You know, get it down and let it bump all kinds of rock, logs, any kind of structure.
Now, this time of year, you said that the fish are really slow to the bite.
Yes.
Now, is this going to be a fast crank or a slow crank? Or?
No, you almost, in a way, you almost just crawl it.
Okay.
I guess the best way to explain it.
Okay.
Or drag it.
Gotcha.
You're going to fish that really slow. All these crankbaits.
Now, these are different depths because the bills are different, correct?
Exactly.
Now, what kind of depth is this?
Yeah, that one you'll get down to about 8 foot. It's
Okay.
about max on that one.
And
And
what
that's
about-
that Stevie G.
This is the Stevie G, the
Yes,
local
that's
one here?
another one, yeah. It's the same bait.
Hey, folks, you need to find this guy right here, Stevie G Baits. We're going to hook him up.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, these are some beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
baits. Now, this is a bait that you would buy at Cabela's or
Right,
something
yeah.
like that.
You can go to any of the local tackle stores.
And this bait looks just as good, but probably better because it's handcrafted.
Yeah.
You know, a guy put his time and his effort into making this happen. So,
Yeah.
you know, that to me would mean more throwing this
Yeah.
because the guy cared about it versus coming out of China or
Right.
somewhere like that at a warehouse.
Yeah.
Now, what do you have here?
That is a Rapala shad wrap.
What you said shad's a good feeding right now for?
Right. That's just, I think that's actually like a crawdad color, but that bait right there it's just so versatile around our lakes here with the rock structure. It catches a lot of fish. You know, you can go out and catch 30 fish on that bait in one day. I mean,
That's
it's
awesome.
not uncommon. Any of those actually, but it's just a real good bait for this time of year too.
Well, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the iRods poles that Todd here uses, so stay tuned. Hey folks, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain. I got Todd with me here, and we're talking a little late season, midwinter bass fishing. Like we said, people don't really typically think about bass fishing this time of year, but it's a good way to get out and learn a lot of stuff.
It is. Yep.
So you had some really cool baits there, and you know, I've seen a lot of that A-rig has become very, very popular, and you see more fishermen using it. And if you watch social media, you're always seeing somebody on there holding a double up.
Yeah.
You know, which is really cool. It's
Yeah.
double the fight, double the weight, so it's really good. Let's talk about the rods that you use. Now, there's a lot of rods out there, and I mean, you can go to Bass Pro or Cabela's, and you'll see 75 or 80 different rods to use
Right.
and different functions, whether you're throwing crankbaits or spinners or
Right.
you know, jigs. Everything has a purpose for it.
Yes.
What sets iRod away from everybody else?
I think a lot of it has to do with the technology that they use and the way they make their rods.
Okay.
They use an X-weave, which is, it makes the rod stronger, and it's allowed them to make a really light rod that you can fish with all day long, you know, but you still got a good quality rod. And one of the things that I like about it is they have a Fuji eye that is, it's like a tangle-free eye.
Okay.
It's a micro eye, and it allows you to throw a really long cast,
Okay.
but it allows you to have more accuracy with your cast too.
Now they offer the different types of rods you need to depend
They
on what
do.
you're throwing.
They make, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a tournament angler or if you're just getting started in fishing.
Right.
They have 4 different lines out.
Okay.
They have a fiber line, which is retail around $100. The next line is the Gen 2 series, which is, I think, retails around $150.
Okay.
Their top end line is the Air series, which Matt Newman is the owner, president, and he just came out with the Air series a few years ago, and its retails about $250.
Okay.
Now, he has just introduced a new line, which is their Argon rod, and I believe right now it's only available at Tackle Warehouse or maybe Tackle Experts.
Okay.
But I think it's retailing around 160 to 170.
And it seems like a lot when you're talking about a rod, but you know, if you're a fisherman or a hunter, equipment's everything.
Yes.
You know, you can go out and buy a cheap bow, you're getting a cheap bow.
Yeah.
You know, you can go out and buy a cheap rod, you're getting a cheap rod.
All right.
And that's well and good if that's what you're starting out with, to see if you like it and if you want it. But when it comes to passion,
Yeah.
people's divorced over equipment, because it gets very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And
you know as well as I do, if you just like the reference to cheap bow, those guys that end up loving it or want to keep archery, or keep shooting, hunting, then they're back in the store.
That's right.
2 months later.
That's right.
Spending,
trying to trade it in.
Right.
And get something better.
I want
Absolutely.
on my buddy. I shot my buddy's bow. Oh, it was so much better. Same deal with the rods.
Yep. That's right. You get what you pay for. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do it for a hobby or for a living or for whatever it is, if you become passionate about it, you will spend more money and get the nicer equipment.
Right.
It'll last you longer in the long run.
Right. Yeah.
It's really what your preference is, and thank the Lord, my TV show, my sponsors. I don't pay for equipment, which my wife makes her really happy.
Yeah.
Because
that makes it a lot nicer.
It does. By the way, thank you HHA Sight Company for the 16 HHA sights I got in the mail yesterday. I really appreciate that.
That's awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about we don't have much time left. Let's talk a little bit about the leagues you're fishing in.
This year I'm fishing the ABA, which is the American Bass Association. I'll be fishing the Kentucky Lake Division.
Okay.
I'll be fishing a couple of BFLs.
Okay.
Which is a lower end of a Walmart FLW series.
Right.
I fish a local series, which is a TNT on Tuesday nights. Come
That's
out Taylorsville.
That's out Taylorsville.
Yep.
Everybody knows the TNT series.
Yep.
If you're around here at Taylorsville Lake, if you try to jolly boat around on Tuesday evenings, it's not going to happen.
Don't go out on Tuesday night.
Because you got these 22 footers coming through there running 75, 76 mile an hour, and you're going to be everywhere. Well, folks, I really appreciate you tuning in this week, and we'll see you next week on Wild Kentuckiana Live.